All right, welcome to today's webinar, the final of 3 webinars that we here at Foliotek have been putting on related to a new release. We are doing this coming Monday. Yes, Monday. We have 2 more days, a weekend, and October 20th we'll be releasing officially the updates to our Foliotek presentation system. So this webinar, as I said, is the final of 3 where we will cover what those updates are and provide you with an overview of how we've made some changes. We've made some significant ones too. So let me go ahead and get started. First off, I want to point out that the new system makes tremendous use of icons. And there are a number of reasons why we decided to build a tool that had more icons than previously. One is we want to have a more responsive, mobile-friendly environment as we make design and development decisions for the future. And icons, the real estate of an icon is consistent. And so we can manage that a little bit better than we can manage the horizontal real estate that text tends to take up. So this is an advantage to using icons. Additionally, once a person learns what the icon means, it is a quicker user experience to navigate through a system. So while there is initially some uptake of learning the icons, long-term is actually better. So we have some functionality built into the system that helps you or helps the users understand what those icons mean as you walk through the system. So icon heavy. Let me go ahead and switch into the application and we'll get started. Excellent. So to get started here, I have logged in to Foliotek Presentation with any account. I actually used a fictitious faculty account, but that's irrelevant at this point. As users enter our system for the first time, even if they are existing users and even new users, they will all be required to pick a profile image and a background image. Profile image, they can either upload one themselves, a selfie, or they can choose one of our defaults. And from background images, we have a large assortment of background images they could choose from. Or if they want to, they can upload their own. Now, let's just say that somebody wants to skip through this whole thing. They don't really care. Then we will assign a background image for them, as well as pick a profile image for them if they just click done, and we'll take them right into the system. Let me switch screens and I will actually begin entering into an account that has been populated with data. This particular account has none, that's why I can see this screen. So let me go into a better account for some usage there. Which will require me to share my screen again, so hopefully I don't run into the same issues that I did before with Google. All right, Google, oh, thank you, excellent. All right, so I should be broadcasting another screen for you now. Google's telling me I am, at least. I have logged in with another fictitious account that, once again, it is a faculty member. And the reason I'm logging in as a faculty member is because it is so similar to a student that if you are a student and you're watching this video, the only difference you're going to find is you don't have access to the moderator components. So this area in the top right, as well as this icon, won't appear for your account. And as a moderator, of course, you'll be seeing this video. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through the moderator components as well today. So again, if you're a student, there might be some of this is irrelevant to you, but it'll be short-lived. The majority will be relevant to you. So here we are. Clearly, you can see our use of icons. They're all over the place. I'm going to quickly walk through what each of these icons stands for and hopefully prepare you for what the system is going to be like when you log in next time. The first icon we have is the dashboard. This is the new screen that you are seeing right now. This screen did not exist before. Previously, our home screen was a listing of ePortfolios. We no longer have a home screen that lists ePortfolios. We have an ePortfolio management screen, which I will get to in just a little bit. The reason we have a dashboard is because the new system, the new Foliotek presentation system, accommodates other components rather than just ePortfolios. Before we were ePortfolio heavy. Now we've added some new features into the system. We have this identity component, which I'll be talking about here shortly. Clearly ePortfolios and communities are becoming more of a prominent aspect to the application. In the future, we'll also be adding a component called projects, but I'm not going to be covering that in today's webinar. So that's what this first icon stands for. This is the dashboard. The second icon is for your identity page. This is a new feature in the system. We betaed this beginning in April and it is now in full release. And your identity page allows you to create a single public-facing web page that acts as a gateway into a deeper dive of who you are as an individual. So the identity page aesthetically always looks good, and it has some very basic information about you, maybe an intro paragraph, your current employment or the school that you're currently attending or have attended, maybe a few links, maybe a link to an ePortfolio, as well as a connection to some social components. Maybe you want to connect to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, those sorts of things. And I'll show you that identity page a little more detail in just a bit. The next icon over, this book with a bookmark in it, will always indicate ePortfolios. So whenever you see that icon, it means there's something going on with ePortfolios. And this icon on the top black bar takes you to your ePortfolio management screen. The next icon over takes you to your community management screen. And again, when you see those three little person heads, that's what that icon is, then you should know that something related to communities is going on. The third icon over is for community moderators. This is one of those icons that only community moderators have access to. So if you're not a moderator, you won't see this icon. And this allows faculty members or anyone who moderates a community to interact with their community members in a little bit more robust fashion than previously was available. The next icon over is for files management. This is obvious. Nothing's really changed in the files management area. I'll show you that screen later on, but it's where you would go to upload new files, organize them so that you can display them in your ePortfolio or in projects in the future. Finally, the three we have on the right allow you to chat with one of our support team, 8 to 5 Central Standard Time, allow you to access our online help system that is always available and is updated frequently, as well as this drop-down where you can modify your account settings. You can check your feedback to see if anybody's provided you with feedback on your ePortfolios or projects at some point in time in the future, and you can log out. I mentioned the identity page. The biggest portion of this screen is devoted to your identity page. And that is because we see your online web presence, your online identity being taking a major role to your account in the future. Think of it as an online business card. So we wanted something that was be professional, that always looked good, but represented you in a very concise, organized fashion so people could get a better understanding of who you are as an individual. So we have these identity cards as the main placeholder of our system. To the right, we have, again, something that is only available for moderators where they can manage the community stuff that they have. The number 3 with a circle around it indicates that as a moderator, you moderate 3 different communities. And if I were to click this, it takes me to my community moderation area. The icon that's got these 4 different squares inside of it will take you to one of your management screens. In this case, it takes you to the same place as clicking this icon does, your community management screen as a moderator, which is a little different than a community management screen for non-moderators. The plus sign would allow a community moderator to create a fresh community without having, before we had to jump through a few hoops to allow that to happen. You no longer have to do that. You can create a community right off the top as soon as you log into the system. Area just underneath that is for ePortfolios. Just like we have the number 3 here for the moderators, we have a 3 here, but it doesn't indicate communities you moderate. It indicates the number of ePortfolios that you have created. So in this case, this user has built 3 ePortfolios. Just like the icons available up here, the same icon here takes you to your ePortfolio management screen. So when you see this icon with these 4 blocks, a management screen is affiliated with it. The plus icon under ePortfolio is actually going to allow you to create a new ePortfolio. Finally, we have communities down here, and I'm sure you've figured this out by now, but the 4 indicates the number of communities that you are a participant of. Now, there's a difference between moderating and being a participant. However, if you are a moderator of a community, by default, you are also a participant. So if I'm looking at this screen, I can tell that this moderator is affiliated with 4 communities, that they are actually a participant of 4 communities, 3 of which they actually moderate. Just as before, the icon here takes you to your community management screen, and the plus sign would allow you to join a new community. You don't have to share any portfolio to join a community. You can just join any community you want to, so long as you have the correct credentials to join that community. All right, let's go ahead and dive in a little bit to this interface. So I can either click the identity edit icon up here or click the icon here for editing my identity. And this takes me into the new identity community management, or the identity management area of my ePortfolio of Foliotek Presentation. Sorry, I got off track there. So if I come into this, I see that I have my content area for my identity, and I can move this around and place it wherever I think would be best. I have some links affiliated with my account that I can edit. I have the university I attended, my latest job, and the ability for people to contact me. Don't worry, we aren't actually storing or displaying your email address. This is built off of a contact form, so that email address is not scrapable by Google bots or any other search engine bot for that matter. Clicking on the list action icon in the left expands various tools for me to work on my identity page. I can modify my templates. I can edit my content, connect to socials through my editing content. I can add other work experiences as well as school experiences I might have. I can modify the background image. If I don't like the background image that's there, I can choose to make it black and white. I can blur it. I can change the background that is behind my content area. And finally, if I don't like any of those, I can change some of the coloring options related to my identity page. I'm not going into a lot of detail on how to do this. That will be in subsequent videos we'll have available to teach people how to edit their identity page. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard. It's kind of a familiar screen since we've just been talking about it. We were just on this first icon over where we were editing the identity page. Now let's jump over another icon and look at the new ePortfolio management screens. This should look somewhat familiar, at least to the point where you see your ePortfolios you've created. We've always had these ePortfolio screen captures of the ones you have built, and that has not changed. They're a little bigger now. And we can see that, yes, this user has 3 ePortfolios that they have built. Looking at this first ePortfolio I've constructed, I can glean a little bit of information by what's displayed on this screen. Let me share that with you. So first off, projects, as I mentioned before, is a component we are introduced earlier in the spring, and it still exists. You can create projects within an ePortfolio today. So if you want to add a project to your ePortfolio, you can do that. It is a Gizmo component of an ePortfolio. In the future, projects will be standalone, so you'll be able to build projects without having to build an ePortfolio first. What this number indicates is the total number of projects you have put into your ePortfolio. So this ePortfolio, aptly named projects, actually contains 2 different projects that I put inside of that. This other circle indicates the number of communities that this ePortfolio is affiliated with. Notice the icon with the 3 different people. I told you it'd be related to communities, and it is. So this ePortfolio is affiliated with 2 different communities. I have an actions menu. Anytime you see this icon here where we have the 3 dots and the 3 long lines after it, that is an action menu of some kind, indicating there's more stuff that you can get to. So by clicking on that icon, it expands some additional tools. So I can delete this ePortfolio, export it, duplicate it. Because I'm actually logged in as a moderator, I have the additional functionality of converting this ePortfolio to what we deem a content template. So if you're a moderator, you might be familiar with that. That's where you can convert one of your existing ePortfolios to something your students can use inside of your community. So instead of starting a blank template or a blank ePortfolio, you can give them sort of a starting place to guide them to construct that ePortfolio. That can be kind of arduous the first time you build one. Go ahead and collapse that. The icon to the right of that is for editing your ePortfolio, and then just to the right of that for previewing your ePortfolio. Those two icons you'll see all over the system as well. Anytime you see that one, it indicates a preview, and anytime you see that little pencil, it indicates some kind of editing functionality. Just as before, where you could share your ePortfolio privately, that hasn't changed, so I can continue to share my ePortfolio, put in the name of the person I want to share it with, or email address, some dates associated with the share, and maybe a personal message to that user. All the individuals you are sharing with would show here in this right column. Let's go back to that ePortfolio management screen. So again, we know this ePortfolio is shared in 2 communities because of this number 2 here, but because my icon is indicated in orange, that also tells me that this ePortfolio is shared in communities. Clicking on this icon will allow me to share it in additional communities. I'll go ahead and do that quickly. So I can see, notice the 2 communities here in the center have been highlighted in orange. That's because I've already shared it with those. If I want to share it with another, I would highlight that and click done. And if all works well, and it is, then my number of communities that I've shared with pops up to 3 instead of 2. The third button over allows me to manage my public sharing of this ePortfolio. Let's scroll down here to the third ePortfolio where I have not shared publicly. So if I were to click this particular button, it opens up a little dialog that allows me to share this ePortfolio. But it allows me to share it publicly, so that means anybody on the web would have access to this ePortfolio. Once I share it publicly, I then can take that same ePortfolio and publish it to one of my social networks like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. If I didn't want to publish it using these tools, I can just take the URL, copy and paste it, and share it wherever I want to. You'll notice though that now that button that did originally say share public share now says manage share, and that allows me to go back in and either stop sharing that ePortfolio or again share it to one of those social mediums. The final button to the right here allows me to convert this portfolio into a collaborative ePortfolio. A collaborative ePortfolio environment gives you the ability to have contributors to that ePortfolio, so people that can add content into that ePortfolio. Very simple process. Put the name of the contributor, email address, personal note to them, asking them why you want them to be a contributor, and click finish. Just like in private share, the contributors that are contributing to your ePortfolio would be listed there on the right. Final features related to ePortfolio management. You can rename your portfolio for each of these portfolios I've created, as well as see the date that ePortfolio was created. Great, let's move on to communities. So I'm going to select the Manage Community icon from the top black bar. And this takes me to a listing of all the communities I am affiliated with, or all the communities I am a participant of. You can look at it that way as well. We've divided this particular screen into participants and participant/moderator. So this account does moderate these 3 communities. And in this particular community, all they perform is a participant role. They do not moderate that community. Clicking the Actions menu, yep, there's that icon again, does expand and allows me to see additional functions that I can do for each of these communities. You'll notice that the communities I moderate have an additional Apple icon affiliated with them because that would give me the functionality to moderate that community. If I wanted to see what portfolios are shared in any of these communities, I can click the portfolio icon there. Remember, I told you, anytime you see that bookmark, that indicates something has to do with portfolios. And a drop-down appears that shows me the ePortfolios that I have shared inside of that community. Now, what other people have shared, what I have shared. But let's say I do want to see what other people have shared in that community, and I have access to do that. I have the view icon. Anytime you see that icon, that means you can view something in greater detail with that particular function. So let's go ahead and view this community. This opens up in a new tab. And here I'm seeing all the ePortfolios that have been shared inside of this community. I can then also see the members of this community. So not only do I see the ePortfolios that are shared, but actually the participants of this community. In the future, you'll be able to see projects and other information about these users. I can click on a particular user, for example here, and see what other ePortfolios they have created, as well as a link to their identity page. So if I wanted to see this particular user's identity page, I have access to that as well. It also opens up in a new tab. Okay, so I've just viewed these different communities, and I'm on my community management screen. Now, one thing I want to show you back on the ePortfolio management screen that is connected to the community management screen is, let's say I know this ePortfolio is shared in 3 communities, but I have no idea which communities it's shared in. Well, if I click on this 3, it takes me to my community management screen, but actually filters that screen by the ePortfolios that are by the ePortfolio I've selected. So yes, this ePortfolio is shared in 3 communities, and now I can see what 3 communities it's shared in. And if I were to expand each one of these boxes, I would see that particular ePortfolio listed in all 3 of these communities. If I wanted to, I could remove it from one, or I could add another ePortfolio into any of these communities. I can change that filter on my community management screen by going back to all portfolios. And once again, I'm seeing the same screen I just showed you for community management. So it's just a filtering capability within this particular community management screen. Great. Now let's jump into a little bit of moderator stuff. So if I am a moderator of communities, there's a new way for you to get into moderating your communities. So we've got this apple in the top black bar, or if you're on your dashboard, again, you can click the 3 here, you can click the management icon as well. I'm going to go ahead and click the apple in the top black bar, and this jumps me into the ability for me to choose what community I want to work with. So I have a choice here. Obviously, I can't do more than one at a time, so I'm going to pick this 3rd one over. And this opens up my new community moderator screen. Now, if I didn't like the community I just selected, I could pick a different one from this left menu. And if you are integrated with, if Foliotek's integrated with your course management system, or importing data from a course management system for you, and we're keeping track of academic terms, you'd actually be able to filter all your communities by the academic term that you're in. So that's a new feature we've added in to this new components of Foliotek Presentation. You can make communities inactive. You do that before, and there's a filter here that allows you to go back and forth between seeing active and inactive communities. But you'll notice that instead of listing ePortfolios for a community, we now list the members of the community and the avatars, or the images, the selfies, which we'll probably end up seeing a lot of, that are affiliated with this community. If I wanted to do a deeper dive into an individual, I could click on that individual and I could see the ePortfolios that they have shared. In the future, I'll also be able to see the projects that they've shared in this particular community. One new component to Foliotek Presentation that we've added in is you no longer have to have a feedback page on your ePortfolio to either give or receive feedback from somebody. So as a community moderator, I could quickly give feedback to this individual right now. I don't have to open up their ePortfolio to give feedback. Additionally, if I were in the public view of this ePortfolio, and I see all these ePortfolios listed here, all I have to do is click the feedback icon, and that would allow me to give feedback for any of these ePortfolios. So here we are looking at an individual, and I just did something. I didn't really mention what I did, but I clicked this actions list. Remember, I said anytime you see that icon, that means there's more actions that follow. Opening up that, I went to the view communities, but let's take a look at these other options. So this is the member listing that we just saw. The option after that is the templates. So if you had created content templates for your community, and this is something I talked about when we first went into the ePortfolio management screen, Under that Actions menu, you can convert an ePortfolio to a content template. And that is what you would see here, is that converted ePortfolio. It would be a listing right here. In the future, you'll be able to build content templates from the screen. That isn't a component that we've added in quite yet. After content templates, you want to run reports. We have the same reports that you could run before, but because we have this new infrastructure put in place, we've also released in the last, 6-8 weeks ago, new features collecting analytic data around how a user interacts with a system. And so we'll have additional reports that you'll be able to run in the future using that data we've started to collect. The final option here are for your community settings, where you can change the name of your community, change the description. You can change who the primary moderator is. Oftentimes there are multiple moderators of a community, and this is going to become more relevant, not only now as to what avatar displays for that community. I see this playing a role in the future when we get into some project scoring components. You can choose the visibility for that community. Is it just private? Is it even more private? So only you as the community moderator can see the ePortfolios and projects that are shared? Or is it completely public so anybody can see the community? The invite code for your community and whether or not this community is active or inactive. Finally, in the top black bar, let's jump over to the file management screen, which shouldn't be shocking for any of you because it's pretty much the same. There's no new functionality here. If I click on any of these, it's the same components I've seen before. There's our good friend Olaf from Frozen. And I can, drag and drop whatever I want to around into the system and files management, so I can organize by creating new folders. Just your standard files management stuff. It's all available to you so you can do a better job of organizing the data you collect long term. I don't think I need to jump into chatting with a support rep, although if I click that, I'm sure somebody would pop on and give you some help. As well as going into our online help system that's available. Help.foliotek.com gets you all the help you can possibly imagine. I'll quickly jump into account settings so you can see what that looks like. Here you can change the selfie or profile image, whatever you uploaded initially, and actually resize that image to be however you want it to look. As I said, you can upload a new one, or if you don't have one anymore, you can choose one of ours. Here's where you could change your first and last name, as well as update your email. And most importantly, I've kind of hidden this, and in the future this won't be as hidden. For your identity page, this is where you manage that public URL that other people can access. So when I share my identity page, this is where I can define how they find that. So it's foliotek.me/something you define. In this case, it's Black Widow 01. All right, let's go back to the dashboard. I'm not going to save anything on that screen. It's not important to you at this point in time. And I think that pretty much covers our whole entire reskinning for Foliotek presentation. Hopefully you've gotten a little bit out of this session. We're going to be doing more webinars in the future for various training sessions here and there. And in the next 6 months, you'll be seeing a lot of new functionality coming into Foliotek presentation, like projects. I mentioned that previously, and project scoring. We'll have a light assessment component to this. So be checking our blog, and we'll be making posts there so you can get the latest news on what Foliotek is doing. Thanks again for attending, and I'm headed out.